We've got some more in the back. Christy can't hear it. Turn it up. The number 2, I think. What about now? Printed these data center effect booklets, which gives a brief overview of data centers. If you didn't get one, you can scan this QR code and download it onto your phone. Also linked to everything is this data center flyer that is hanging all over Leon County. It links to our petition and the Facebook page. So once everybody gets a seat and we get ready, I'm going to ask Judge Weiler if he would open us in prayer. Here.
Thank you.
You got that?
Oh, no, I ain't holding. I ask y'all if you'll bow with me for a word of prayer, please. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, I come to you tonight with an humble heart, praying for this meeting that it will be a peaceful meeting. Also praying for, Lord, just that we would be able to actually learn some things and have some questions answered for us that are here in the community. And Father, this intrusion, I'm just going to put it there, this intrusion in our area, when it starts talking about surrounding lands and things, and there's quite a few of us here that are, this land's been in our families for 50, 60, 70 years, 100 years. And it was handed to us with the agreement that we would do and be the stewards of it that you would have for us to be. And I pray, Father, that this meeting will enlighten some of us as what to expect should things happen. And Lord, I would ask again that this meeting be conducted in a way that's pleasing to you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. All right, I want to thank everybody for coming tonight. If you don't know me, I'm Daniel McCausland. I've lived here my entire life. My family's been here a long time. If you'd like to speak, also, we have a sign-up sheet on the back, so you can sign up so we can stay organized and make sure everybody has a chance to get their voice heard, because that's what this is all about. Everybody has a voice, and we want to hear everybody's voice that wants to voice an opinion. So most of us have heard the phrase, the cloud, as if the internet floats somewhere above us in this magical realm, harmless and out of sight. But the truth is very different. Every email we send, every video we stream, every app we open in our phones or on our computer is powered by real machines in real buildings somewhere. A data center is one of those buildings. It's usually a massive, windowless concrete box. Inside are hundreds of thousands of computers stacked from floor to ceiling. These machines never shut down. They run 24 hours a day and generate enormous amounts of heat. Have you ever been on your laptop or been close to a computer when you've been on there a long time and you feel it getting hot? Now imagine that 24/7, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That's the kind of heat these buildings generate. Data centers create a serious challenge for the communities where they're built. They bring what I like to call the 3 great drains. The first great drain is the health drain. Data centers may look quiet from the outside, but the impacts they create can affect our well-being in ways people don't always see at first. Constant noise, increased air pollution, bright nighttime lighting, and industrial heat all take a toll. These conditions can disrupt sleep, worsen respiratory issues, increase stress, and affect vulnerable residents like children and seniors. A project of this scale doesn't just change the landscape. It changes how people feel and function in their own homes. The energy drain is the second great drain. These facilities consume staggering amounts of electricity. When the data center connects to the grid, it's like adding a small city overnight. Utilities then have to be built with new power lines, new substations, and new infrastructures. It's the residents who end up paying higher bills to cover those upgrades. The number 3 drain that I'm going to talk about is the pollution burden. Because data centers run around the clock, they create multiple forms of pollution. Air pollution from the backup generators and increased energy demand, noise pollution and industrial equipment that never stops, light pollution from security lighting that stays on all night long, environmental pollution from heat, chemicals, and industrial operations, water strain from millions of gallons of water used for cooling daily. All these pressures add up. They affect our health, our sleep, our wildlife, and the peace and quiet of our country lifestyle. Developers like to come in and promise jobs and economic growth, but a building this size typically employs only 30 to 50 people, mostly for security and basic maintenance. That's far fewer jobs than a warehouse, factory, or distribution center of the same size. It doesn't create a tech boom. It creates a hollow, empty tech shell. At the top of that, many of these companies request tax abatements. That means they pay less in taxes while using our land, our water, and our electricity. The community shoulders the burden while the profits leave town. More times than not with these companies, it goes to foreign businesses in a whole other country. It doesn't even stay in the United States. When you look at the full picture, data centers take a great deal from the communities they enter and give very little back. We aren't just hosting the internet. We're subsidizing it with our resources, our tax dollars, and our quality of life. Tonight, as we each talk about different things that we've invested our time and research in, I encourage all of us to ask questions, learn the facts, and make sure our voices are heard. Our community deserves to understand the real impact before these decisions are made. I'd like to introduce my cousin, Ann McCausland. She's going to talk about the major health issues that come along with this project.
Move that down because I'm short. Thank you, Daniel. So my name is Ann Williams McCausland. I've grown up here my entire life. My husband and I both grew up here, went to school here, left for a little while to go to college, and then moved right back. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. So, as a matter of fact, my husband says that I'm finally getting to use my God-given talent of never shutting up. So I'm not going to say that he's right, but I'm not going to say he's wrong either. And when I first heard of the possibility of a data center coming to Leon County, I had to look it up and even see what this thing was. I quickly learned that the cloud, as I had always referred to, is not just our digital footprint being stored in space, but it's actually a massive campus of buildings, once only built in those large cities that are now being pushed out to our beautiful farmland. I was shocked. The more I read, I was alarmed at the amount of health issues that arise from these centers. AI, which is artificial intelligence, is transforming the way we live. It fuels innovation, but it also fuels a major health crisis for those who have to live next to one. And you say you have to live next to one because your property values and everything goes up, but you're not going to be able to sell your land. You're not going to be able to move. You're going to be tied there. Environmentally friendly data centers is an impossible term. At this time, they cannot operate solely on renewable energy. They rely heavily on fossil fuels. During peak grid times, these data centers will switch to using generators. The air pollution from those generators, along with noise and water pollution, will create many health concerns for us. The pollutants are emissions like PM2.5 and nitrous oxide. They cause respiratory and cardiovascular issues, all leading to significant public health burdens. The PM2.5 and nitrogen oxides are very fine particulates of matter, and they are linked to asthma, lung cancer, heart attacks, and premature death, especially in vulnerable populations. There's a reason they are referred to as the silent killer. I am one of the vulnerable, as I have battled severe asthma my entire life. And if you've never fought for your next breath, you have no idea what that's like. Noise and light pollution have negative health impacts on multiple populations. Once these centers are turned on, like Daniel said, they're never turned off unless it's like a critical emergency. And then God be with us for what that entails. I can't even imagine what that would be like for our volunteer fire departments. The headaches, the sleep disturbance, stress, anxiety, cognitive issues, and even cardiovascular risks will arise for all of us living within range. I've been told early on that there's always something good in every situation, and I'm sure that there is. But I also try to do a balancing act. And at the end of the day, I can't look my neighbor in the eyes, tell them I'm praying for their recent cancer diagnosis, yet then say, but isn't the oil sand pavement on County Road 344 worth it? I know that sounds crude, but that's the trade-off. Incentives in the form of tax abatements will only benefit the county general fund, not us that will suffer next to it. Human survival should never have to compete with corporate infrastructure. We decided to make the public aware of what could be coming and the health issues that we would face. We decided to make the public aware. We made that decision because informing everyone is the right thing to do. It's how to gain momentum. And we all know that there's power in numbers, and your voices matter. Your voice is power. Your concerns speak volumes. We've had a movement like this before when we fought the high-speed rail. And as Commissioner Workman stated, when fighting the high-speed rail, we want to do whatever we can to build a box around the project. And each of you here tonight, you are helping to build the box around the project. Your voice. When I said my prayers last night, I just prayed to God to please let 20 people show up. And wow, thank you so much.
No, it's fine. I got it.
And up next is Michael Rice.
Okay.
I like to call him, he's our golden penny, kind of like with school finance. He's something we can't do without.
Hello. I'm going to raise that up a little. My name's Michael Rice. I have not lived here my whole life. In fact, I barely know any of you in this room. I'm sure you have probably never met me before either. This month will mark my 5th year of living here in Leon County. My day job is a software developer and systems engineer. I specifically work for a company that writes data center automation software. And I even brought a server so if there's anybody in here that doesn't know what we're even talking about when we're talking about servers in a data center, I brought a 10-year-old model, brought the 2015 model that I developed software against while I'm working. But I moved here in 2021 because I wanted a rural life. We wanted to start a farm business, and we have, we grow chickens, turkeys, beef, and pork, and drive down to Houston and sell them at the farmer's market. And that's what brought me here. I wanted to kind of get away from the big city and all the industrialization there. So, when you hear data center, what do you picture? I don't imagine maybe like a big warehouse, maybe like a chicken house, maybe even something like this room, but instead of people or broilers, it's filled with computers. That's not far off. It's not entirely true, but it's not far off. A data center isn't just a building, and the AI facilities, it's not just 1 or 2 buildings. These facilities are permanent industrial utility consumers, And once they're built, the impacts do not stop. Let's talk about how data centers even operate. So data centers are very power hungry by design. A single large facility can consume as much electricity as a small city, and that's not its peak usage. That's constant 24/7 year-round usage. For example, a city that has roughly 50,000 people in it will use about 50 megawatts of continuous power. The Kayla project data center is projected at 1,500 megawatts. So that's, well, and based on some other land that they're trying to acquire, the size of this project could easily double to over 3,000. So that's like having a town with 150,000 to 300,000 in one spot worth of electricity usage. So that they're so big. And they don't ever shut down. I worked at a company that had a truck hit one of our data centers, and we didn't shut it down. It stayed on. That part of the data center went down, but the rest of it stayed on. So to handle all that power, it means new transmission lines, substations, backup generators, on-site battery systems. The Kayla project is proposing a 200 megawatt battery, which again, with all the extra land they're trying to acquire, could easily double to something like 400 or more. If the grid can't support it, the cost of the upgrades don't magically disappear. Someone has to pay for it. We've all read the news online and seen that the costs are going to be passed on to us. I think we've all used our phones or computers for something that's kind of power hungry, maybe playing a video game, or maybe you've had your laptop on your lap for a little bit too long and you felt the heat. It gets a little warm. These data centers, especially AI data centers, are designed to be under a heavy load the whole time. It's like a motel's not making money if it's not full. These computers aren't making money if they're not under a load. So they get really hot and they need to be cooled off. And so they have massive cooling systems. Many of those systems use water, millions of gallons of water a year. It's going to use even more in hot climates like ours. Sure, we've all been outside in the summer. It's not very comfortable. So what about the footprint? So we've heard mention that these things are pretty big. These buildings aren't even close to the size of a chicken house. We're talking about buildings that take up 5 to 6 acres each. And facilities like what's being proposed here in Leon County, you're going to be looking at 30 to 50 buildings per site. That's for a 1,500 megawatts. So if it ends up doubling, just know that those numbers would end up doubling as well. And so you're not just talking about a warehouse, you're also talking about, like, these are campuses measured in millions of square feet. So then you've got the substations, the transmission, the water cooling, places for them to store all the fuel that they're going to have to need to run the generators. This isn't temporary construction. It's temporary, or it's permanent industrial infrastructure. Why do they even come to places like this? Well, the land is cheap. There's very few zoning restrictions. There's limited public awareness. I mean, can you imagine if somebody hadn't found out what was going on and let some of us know, and then we started ringing the bell? This room wouldn't even have anybody in it. No one would even know, and the project would be even further along than it is now. Then you have tax abatements and incentives. So what's a tax abatement? A tax abatement, this is just Googled what is a tax abatement. A tax abatement is a government-approved reduction in or exemption from taxes granted to encourage specific activities such as economic development, job creation, or property revitalization in designated areas. Those designated areas are called reinvestment zones. That's something important to be watching for when you're checking out, like, the commissioner's meeting agenda. If you see that, know that's an important meeting to attend. So in other words, there are incentives to build here. On May 13th of 2024, our commissioners granted two tax abatements, one to Hollow Branch Creek Solar, one to Grand Solar BESS Texas 3. On October 30th, 2024, another tax abatement was granted to Black Mountain Energy Storage. In September of that same year, the commissioners and judge unanimously approved a 6% hike in taxes. This is from the budget. It says this tax rate will raise more taxes for maintenance and operation than last year's rate. The tax rate will effectively be raised by 6.44% and raises taxes for maintenance and operations on a $100,000 home by approximately $21.12. So they're telling one group of people you don't have to pay, or you have to pay less, while they tell those of us that don't get the abatement, you gotta pay more. Developers often promise jobs, but the reality is most of the data centers employ very few people. Sometimes only a couple of dozen people are required for a facility that costs hundreds of millions of dollars to build. The jobs also require highly specific training and skills that generally don't exist in rural areas like ours. This will, more often than not, lead companies to have to import workers from other countries using H-1B visas. What can we do right now? Opposition works best when it's factual and not emotional. There are some practical steps residents can take right now before any decisions are locked in. First, say no to tax abatements and pilots. Residents should be clear, no tax abatements and no special deals. If a project only works by shifting costs away from the developer and onto the county, it's not economic development, it's risk transfer. Next, residents should ask the county judge and commissioners court to form a 391 planning committee. That committee creates a formal process, brings technical review, and puts facts on the public record. Without the 391 committee, decisions can be rushed. With one, the county has leverage. Yesterday, at the Commissioner's Court, a motion was passed to form one. So our ask of you is to keep pressure on the commissioners to get the committee formed and utilize it. If county leaders argue for a pilot or reduced tax rate, ask a follow-up question. How does lowering the net new revenue in a county budget help residents? And how does taking less money not an incentive to build here? Ask these questions in public. Data centers are not inevitable. They're industrial projects that require approvals, permits, infrastructure commitments, and public consent. None of that happens automatically. Our role as residents is to demand clear answers, enforce standards, and protect our land, water, and property rights before any decision is made. If a project cannot meet those standards or cannot operate without burdening the county, then it should not move forward here. This community still has leverage. What matters now is using it early, clearly, and together. Thank you.
This works. Here you go.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Howdy. My name is Ben Myers. I'm a candidate for the United States Congress in the new 10th Congressional District that was recently created. It's an open seat. And I'm a conservative businessman. I'm a Christian and not. I'm from Huntsville, Texas. And this issue that we're facing now has been moving toward us for quite some time. It's been in the national press, but many of us didn't understand when they first came for the water. Now they come for the electricity. And I'm here to stand up in this race because right now there are tech billionaires from California and the East Coast and West Coast are putting $110 million into a super PAC to help elect one of my opponents. I disagree with him vehemently. He's an attorney, and he and I are going to be in a contest to represent you. Now, Texas addressed this issue in the last legislative session. Our Senate passed Senate Bill 6 and Senate Bill 9. Senate Bill 6, I believe it was, addressed high users of electricity like data centers and essentially said they had to pay their own way. They couldn't cost shift to the ratepayers. And then also, Angela Paxton in the Senate passed a bill that would protect our children and our families from the harms of AI. AI is a good tool as long as it's not in the wrong hands. It can be used for an immense amount of evil against our children. It is a dangerous thing. Even Elon Musk said 11 years ago that AI poses an existential threat. And so Texas passed these laws that were good laws. And then this group went to Washington, D.C. and tried to put into the one big beautiful bill that Donald Trump helped get through and supported. They put a provision in that bill that said Texas and the rest of the states' rights would be preempted for 10 years regarding AI, electrical grid, and anything that would slow down the advancement of artificial intelligence. That bill was defeated 99-1. Then they came in and went to the National Defense Appropriation Act to try to put it there. It was thrown out. Now they are persisting and have preempted state law by executive order. I disagree with that. But the President Trump's executive order actually is a good thing because it brings the issue of states' rights versus these tech billionaires and AI versus you. I stand with Texas. They stand with the tech billionaires. They think that they can roll over Texas and take this seat. 65% of the people in this district live here in East Texas and Central Texas, and 35% live in Austin. I'm from here, I'm with you, they're from there. And I believe that this race will become a national contest and referendum on what are we going to do in Texas and what are we going to do in the United States. Are we going to have common sense regulation of artificial intelligence? Are we going to protect our grid? Are we going to protect our water? Or are we going to let them roll over? Your vote has never been worth as much as it is now. You have never had as much power for the future of the United States, and I believe the world. Now, I thought about, hey, I'm not going to fight these. These are the most powerful people on the planet, and they're coming for us. What am I doing in this? I prayed about it long and hard with my wife. And I've got the ability and the time, and I believe I'll make you a good congressman, and I'm going to stand up whatever the consequences are. Because I believe that Texas has the right to govern Texas. That's the prime issue. Texas, you make the decisions, and we, people like me who are congressmen, are to take them to Washington, not the other way around. And that, to me, is the fundamental issue in this race. I am really proud to be here tonight. The work y'all are doing is going to be heard around the world. I'm going to try to make it heard throughout the 13 counties in this legislation. 25 of the state senators in Texas signed a letter to the president asking him not to preempt Texas law. And those are brave people. And, you know, one of the things that came up and I heard there is that we are giving to these folks a phantom profit. Your electrical bill, I read from the Department of Energy today, and ERCOT and the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, Donald Trump engaged them to create a study on this and determine which grids can afford to take this kind of load. ERCOT is barely able to provide the services that we need today. In that report, you will see that our prices for electricity, your prices, not theirs, will double, triple, or even quadruple over the next, I think it was by 2030. Ladies and gentlemen, And then today, our President, Donald Trump, said we need to solve this problem. We can't allow the electrical prices to skyrocket like that because he wants to fight inflation. I was so proud to read that this morning. The worm is turning, as the old saying goes, and we're going to win. And we're only going to win if you stand up and you vote. And your power to say no will be heard around the world. And so I'm just grateful to be here. I'm grateful to know that Texas is standing up and fighting. And I'll be around to answer any kind of questions. And I'll assure you that if I go to Washington and serve as your congressman, I'm going to fight for you, not them. Thank you.
Those are everybody's TV stations.
Okay.
TV stations.
Oh, TV. Excuse me.
I'm Judge Byron Ryder, and I thank y'all very much for being here tonight. It's a great turnout. I'm glad to see the interest that you have in Leon County in this area. It's very, very important that we protect our health, our agriculture, and everything that we love about Leon County. I just want to give just a real brief overview of what transpired with me. November the 4th, the Belltown Power came to see me in my office, and they stayed about 45 minutes or so, and they pretty well told me that they were coming, and basically they had an option on some land out in the area where it is at 1146. That's about all they said. They did mention some of the stuff that they were thinking about doing, but nothing particular that was about the project itself. After they left, and we had some people that contacted me, and they were really concerned, and they were concerned more about the health and water and electricity, which I do not want anything coming in here that has anything to do with health, for sure. And so I did some research, called around, read, talked to some people, and at this point I want to tell you that I am 100% against Belltown coming. I'm 100% against giving them a tax abatement after doing that research. One basic reason, another reason why that I'm so adamant against it is because their reluctance of coming and telling us about the project. I asked them to come to the Commissioners Court meeting yesterday, and they didn't come. And I asked them to come to this, and they refused. And because of that, I'm going to read. I finally got a hold of them, and they told me they would send me a summary. And I finally got it Friday. I read this at the Commissioners Court yesterday, and I want to read it to you, the people that weren't there, of what they said. It says, Belltown Power appreciates the community's interest in the proposed CALA project and recognizes that a project of this scale represents change in Leon County. We understand why residents have questions and concerns, and we respect the county's role in creating space for those conversations. The project is currently in an evaluation and study phase. Important topics that the community has raised, including water usage, emergency response, readiness, project phases, and potential fiscal impacts are actually being analyzed. Rather than speculate or provide incomplete information, Belltown believes it is more responsible to return with verified specific details that people can evaluate and respond to meaningful, and our team will engage with the county as the project continues in progress. Belltown is committed to working with Leon County and the local community as the project progresses, and to approach this development throughout thoughtfully and responsibly. Belltown appreciates the county's leadership and looks forward to building a conservative, transparent relationship with the entire community. That's what they sent me back, and it's in the record of the Commissioner's Court as of yesterday. I just wanted to bring this up to summarize what's going on. What I'm going to do at this point, I'm going to yield my time to a gentleman that I believe is very capable of trying to answer some questions or even going into some of the details of this. But tonight we have with us a very top attorney that's in Austin, Texas. And he deals with counties all the time in issues like data centers, water grabs, and this, that, and the other. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to Jim Allison with Allison Bass and McGee from Austin.
Thank you, Judge. I am Jim Allison. I'm the Senior General Counsel of the County Judges and Commissioners Association of Texas. I'm also a fellow who came out of a small county in East Texas of 5,000. Started there as the county attorney. When I got out, went back home. And I will tell you that you're not alone. Even that small county has now been approached to site a data center. A county of 5,000 with very little people to furnish employment. So you can see this is a effort that's going on across the state. I'm going to talk a little bit about why Texas. Why are they coming here? Why are they coming to small counties? Why are they coming to rural areas? I have to tell you, I'm going to have a lot of good news and bad news tonight. And when I finish, you may say, when's the good news? But I'm going to tell you how I've seen it since 1983. We bought into something back in 1989 when we amended our Constitution, provide for economic development. We bought into the theory that all growth is good growth. It's not true. All growth has a cost attached to it. And it's only growth where the benefit exceeds the cost. That's good growth. But for many years, we carried on that philosophy of, well, any growth is good growth. Come on to Texas. We even call it the Texas miracle and brag about all the growth that we've had. We're now beginning, though, to find the second part of that. What is the cost of that growth and who pays it? And in this instance, there's no question that the cost will be paid by, in the most part, by the local people where these data centers are operated. And why is that? Well, first you need to understand that this is a national phenomenon in order to increase the ability to use artificial intelligence, for the most part. We are the enemy. We want that. We want to be able to pull that phone out and have all the power of a computer in our hand and all the data available in the world for us right there. But there's a cost to it. Somebody has to host those data centers. Well, we could put them in the cities. Do they want them? No, they don't want them. We could put them in other states. Do they want them? No, they don't want them. So where are they coming? They're coming to a relatively unregulated state, and that's Texas, because we've kept the fences down. We said, you want to build something? Come on here. We won't have regulations, and we'll give you pretty much whatever you want in order to get that growth. It's time to stop and don't buy in anymore of all growth is good growth. Tell us the truth, what's the cost, and let us decide if we want to pay it or not. We hear a lot of talk about local control, and I've spent, as the judge and commissioners will tell you, most of my time since 1983 either counseling them on what they cannot do or going over to the legislature and saying, when are you going to come through with some of that local control? In Texas, cities have ordinance powers. They can pass an ordinance and do whatever the state does not prohibit. Counties do not. Counties are a creature of the state. Counties have only that power that's been delegated to them by the legislature. Land use regulation is not one of those things. Counties can regulate, can do more regulation on the siding of a liquor store, of a massage parlor, of a game room than they can a data center. or a Bitcoin mining center. So there is no local control in Texas over this. Counties do not have zoning power. That's why they're coming here. That's why they're coming to local areas that are outside the city. The county cannot stop them from coming. There are some things that we can do cooperatively to, if not make them, stop them from coming, make them less welcome. And I'll tell you, unfortunately, what that probably means is we make them push them out of your community and have them go to somebody else's backyard there. But I'm here to talk to you tonight about what you can do to either stop them, slow them down, or make it as safe as possible. The concerns you have are accurate. I hear them all over the state. I've heard them now for several years as we go into counties and there's some obnoxious, non-conforming use that wants to come into the county, typically in the rural part of the state, use it for their purposes, but in the process reduce the value of people who have invested their life savings in building their forever home in that community. There's actually more growth going on in the unincorporated areas of Texas now, percentage-wise, than in the cities. People want to live in the country. They want to raise their kids in the country. They don't want some obnoxious, non-conforming use coming to either pollute their air, their water, or lower their property values. But their commissioner's court cannot stop them from coming. The state has restricted that power to the legislature. So what can we do? Well, I've already asked one question because I managed to stop one. Believe it or not, they were proposing to build this, it was not a data center, it was another obnoxious use, down a county road with no access to a state highway. And we had a hearing, and we had the commissioner's court there, and I asked these folks, I said, how are you planning on getting your stuff back to your site? I said, well, we're going to go down County Road 204. And I said, you see those 5 gentlemen sitting over there? I said, yeah. I said, well, County Road 204 is a caliche road. You got to bring 500 trucks in, which is not unusual when you're constructing one of these a day. I said, I don't think you're going to make it unless you got helicopters. So start now, and I believe you already have, but a good start. What is it that they're going to have in order to come to your county? Well, I've already determined that apparently they do have access to a state highway. Talk to TxDOT. Find out what the plan is for that highway. Have they approached them already about upgrading that road? Because they're going to need a lot of access. Don't let that slip by. Talk to them at the TCEQ, as been previously mentioned. They're going to need air permits, water permits, and they'll have to go to the state for those. Don't let those slip by uncontested. Continue your communication with your state and federal and local officials. Don't let up on that. Make sure they know that you're concerned about this. And then investigate. Who is this entity? What is their backing? What is their background? What is their experience? Have they done these elsewhere? How did those turn out? Talk to those local folks as well. Bring those facts together, bring them back here, and give those to your state, local, and federal officials. Make yourself heard. This is a great start. There's a lot of people here. Then you got to break yourself, frankly, into the 3 options. Well, what are those? Well, let me just ask you. Is there anybody here tonight that thinks that this is a private business transaction between a willing buyer and a willing seller, and the private market all decide it, and the communication has no interest in it? Raise your hand and head for the door. Because I don't think that's what most people are here thinking. But that's an option. And you understand, that's the basic option in Texas. We have a system of buyer beware. And anybody can sell their property to anybody for any purpose unless it's an unlawful purpose. These are not an unlawful purpose. So those folks are not here tonight, but they're out there, and they're the ones that are going to push this project forward. because there's a strong profit motive behind it. And there's a strong profit motive to build it where the costs are lower. That's you. You've got to make that less approachable, less palatable to them. So then, if you're not in that group, how many of you are so opposed to it that you will oppose it no matter what conditions can be put on it, no matter what can be done to make it less dangerous, you're going to oppose it all the way? I expect there's a lot of those. You came out tonight. The third option, and the one that you're not going to like, but you need to keep in mind, is that they may come anyway. And if they're coming anyway, the only tool available to the county and the school and any taxing entity here is that thing they call a tax abatement. Yes, a tax abatement was created in order to bring them in, and to bring them in by giving them economic incentives to come, to bring their jobs, to bring their capital investment. And that's still one of the things you hear a lot about. But the other thing you can do with a tax abatement agreement is you can negotiate conditions on them. We have done that. We have negotiated conditions on noise restrictions. We've negotiated conditions on setback requirements. We've negotiated conditions on recycling their water and not dumping wastewater into your streams and not taking water unnecessarily. We're in the process of some counties trying to negotiate the on-site power source, that they have to generate their own power either through renewables or modular nuclear, which is the latest. Those bring their own concerns, but at least they're not going to be pulling the power out of your grid at your cost. Despite what Ben said, yes, the legislature finally stepped up, and ERCOT got concerned about if all of them were to come, and they won't, they'll shake out a lot of them. We may run this one off somewhere else. They will use enough power that we cannot keep up. We will have the heightened prospect of brownouts and blackouts if they were to build all the ones that have been announced. And they will increase the cost to each and every ratepayer in the state, because you cannot add that much capacity, and the system now will only charge that back to them to the extent that the state does it, and they're not proposing to pass all that cost back and run them off somewhere else. So you've got to continue to raise those concerns, but don't shut the door at this time. I'm glad to hear the judge say that he at least is at this point going to tell them no abatement. I don't want you to apply for one. Don't even come see us about it, because we do not want you here. That may be enough. There are other counties that are offering abatements. There's one not far from here that's drawing $1 million a year in a pilot payment, but they also got conditions on noise, firefighting protection, all these other things that I mentioned. So stay informed, stay noisy, continue to watch, continue to communicate, raise your concerns. They're legitimate. But also, if you see a notice that they filed an application for an abatement, come talk to the commissioners about, wait a minute, what is it they're asking for? What is it they're offering? Have they come around? Are they now going to do things that they're not required to do by law in order to get an abatement? That will be the decision point. I think from what I see here tonight, they're going to get the message that they probably ought to be looking elsewhere. But you got to keep that. You got to keep that message going. You got to use every tool that you got, and certainly don't let up on your state and federal officials. This is a big national problem. We need the power. We need the data research. We need to move forward on AI, but we don't need to do it on the backs of rural America. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Allison. Mr. Allison's a great asset to the county. His office is available to us 7 days a week. When we have questions, we can email him or call him, and he's a great asset to us. So for those of you who do not know me tonight, my name is T.J. Foley. I'm a Leon County Commissioner for Precinct 4. This data center proposed project is in my area. My area stretches from where this data center is located on 1146, close to the Leon School, all the way along the Navasota River, all the way to OSR, almost to I-45, and back up to just outside of Redland off Highway 7. I am a lifelong resident of Leon County. I live in Marquez. I've lived there for 43 years. I was born and raised there. I live 2 miles from my mother's house. I've raised my kids here. I want them to be raised just like I was raised, licking salt blocks out of a cow pasture, walking barefoot down the dirt roads to our neighbor's house, riding horses, shooting squirrels, and doing anything else that I want to do on our land, in our woods, in our county, without having to worry about a data center or a stray bullet or noise or no birds to shoot or no squirrels to hunt. I oppose this data center. I'm a fifth generation Leon County resident. I still run livestock today on the land that my great-great-grandparents on both sides of my family owned. We've been here since the mid to late 1800s. I do not want to see our grass covered up with concrete. I do not like subdivisions. I was proud to listen to an interview with Mr. Trump yesterday that said he is against wind farms, and as long as he's in office, he'll try to do everything he can to another one to be never put up. I was proud to hear him say that as long as he is in office, he's going to do everything he can to stop the solar farms that are trying to come through. In my opinion, there is a reason that these data centers did not approach us until right here at the 1st of November, and that's because the legislative session has just ended. We don't have another one going on for 2 years till 2027. That gives them 2 years to get their feet in the door, to get some boots on the ground and get projects started and underway before our congressmen, senators, and everybody down in Austin and our representatives has really a whole lot of time to get anything in place. On October 29th, in an open public commissioner court setting, Judge Ryder made us aware that there was a data center that had called his office and was wanting to come speak to him. That was in open court, in an open meeting on October the 29th, a little after 9 a.m. He said, all I know at this time is they said it's a couple of miles from Lake Limestone. Kyle and myself looked at each other and said, got to be one of the two of us. Judge, let us know. That meeting was on November 4th, I believe around 10:30, 11 o'clock in the morning. As Judge said, they was in his office about 45 minutes or an hour. Just probably as soon as they left, he made a phone call to me and said, TJ, this is where it's at. It looks like it's going to be in your area. I said, okay. I had received a few calls a week or two ahead of that from a few people, Ann being one of them. I said, Ann, I do not know any more than you do at this time, other than what we've heard from a few landowners and a few ranch people in the area that something may be coming in. She said, as soon as you know something, let me know. Got off the phone with Judge Ryder. I called Ann. I'd been talking to Daniel. I said, hey, it's going to be on the Caleb Place and Petty Place on 1146. I wasn't around her, but I could hear her heart drop. We don't want that. Neither do I. This center is about, as the crow flies, 4 miles from my house. The timeline here is, on a personal note, I purchased some property not far from this data center on County Road 386, which is about 3 miles from this place, last February, almost a year ago. There has been rumors floating around that I used my political office for personal gain, and that I have known and the county has known about these data centers for years. I'm here tonight to not only inform you, but to tell you right now, standing before all of y'all, that is absolutely a lie. If you heard it from anyone, this is nothing that I would do with my power, being a county commissioner, representing Leon County and everyone in this room and all 16,000 residents in this county. I wanted you to hear that from me. I found out about this shortly on October the 29th and confirmed on November the 4th. And I stand before you here speaking the God's honest truth that I have never known about this data center before that time. I was very disappointed when I saw on Facebook that those rumors were floating around, that my people that put me in office and people that I've grown up with my whole life would think that of me. I hope that I've set the record straight on that. I hope that the people in here trust me and my word and integrity more than that. And for those of you that don't or still have questions after this, I encourage you to speak to me. I have a county phone number. It is on the county website. You can look my name up on the internet, type in TJ Foley. There's all kinds of stuff comes up. I've got 3 cell phone numbers. I've got 3 cell phones. I'm the fire chief of the Marquez Fire Department. That's plastered all over the internet. If you want to get a hold of me, there's a phone number. I'll be happy to take anyone's call. As Ann was speaking earlier, from a fire department standpoint, I also am the fire chief of the Marquez Volunteer Fire Department. I've been on that volunteer fire department for 26 years. I've been a fire chief the last 15 or so. We do not want this. Yes, it would look like we would be looking like $1 million driving down the road in 3 or 4 brand new fire trucks that they would purchase for us. I don't like going to fires. I don't like breathing in smoke. I don't like going to wrecks. I do it because it's needed in our community. I have a passion to serve our community, and that's why I'm on the volunteer fire department. We don't need any more calls. Our 12 or 15 guys and ladies that we have other things to do, jobs. We don't need a data center to have to respond to. We don't need the excess traffic to have to worry about. From representing Marquez Fire Department, we don't want this. Yes, like I said, a couple new fire trucks in the fire station would look great driving down the road. We don't have enough people to operate what we have, and there's not a lot of volunteers standing in line. So from that standpoint, our fire department is against this data center. I'm going to do everything in my power to fight against this. I raise livestock. I raise kids in Leon County the way I was raised. That's what Leon County's for. It's the dearest place in Texas. Our deer is already dwindling down. Anybody who's been hunting the last few years knows that. Deer population's half what it was. Gas wells, solar farms, subdivisions, the more people moving in, the wildlife, the livestock, our way of life as we know it in Leon County is moving out. I just want y'all to know from the bottom of my heart that I hope this project does not come. I hope that y'all think better of me, that I would have used my political office for a personal gain of something of this magnitude, to have to hold my head down and look at the ground every time I pass somebody if this thing was to go in. So I appreciate it. I would like y'all's support. I am up for re-election this year. I would like your support if you so back me for your commissioner for Precinct 4. And thank Ann, thank Daniel, thank Michael for putting this together. Thank everyone in attendance tonight. Like I said, my phones are available 24/7. If you don't believe me, ask my wife. When it rings at 2 o'clock in the morning, I answer it. It doesn't matter if it's a fire, somebody broke down on the side of the road, or the sheriff's office saying some cows are out. There's a few of those guys in here too. They'll tell you I answer it. Call me. Thank you.
And then I found out why, but it's been used against you. There's three things you need to be able to get this under control. We realize the data centers have some national security implications. The pressure is not going to go away. If you stop this one from coming, you're going to hear about another one. In 2 years, a year and a half, 3 years, you have to have some legislative remedies. Number one, in Texas, counties have very little zoning authority. Basically, what the county can do, they can give the abatement or not give the abatement. If they don't give the abatement, they're still very limited in being able to stop something from coming. Now, the reason counties have so little zoning authority is because people want to protect their property rights. That's understandable. But what's happened is over time, Austin has taken all the power and it has leveraged this to rob you of the allies you would have in your county. Number one, legislatively, give counties some zoning authority, zoning and land use authority. That's local control. I'm a big believer in subsidiarity. That is the principle that everything that is done collectively should be done at the lowest level it possibly can be done. That protects freedom because it keeps the people, the government close to the people, and it demands accountability. You gotta give it to them, or this is gonna be a never-ending problem, okay? You should have the right in your county to determine where is it going to be located. How are we going to keep it from stealing resources from us? So that's a legislative thing that you got to get. Number two, the water issue. The thirst for water and power by data centers, it's not arithmetic, it's geometric. On water, right now you have, I don't know whether it's in Leon County or Freestone, you have Dallas trying to take your water already. What the devil are you going to do on this stuff? And Texas keeps doing it. The state keeps doing this in Austin on things. One of the things that we're looking at is putting some desalination centers. I don't know if you're aware, Texas has almost 3,300 miles of usable coastal land. You may say, you must be crazy. Only 267 miles of Texas is on the Gulf of Mexico. No, usable coastal land includes estuarial lands, creeks, rivers, that sort of thing. And will that help you? Yeah, indirectly. If the cities, and if you have pipelines that are going to high density units that relieves pressure on your aquifers, and you protect that stuff, you got to be thinking of this sort of thing. Number three, power. You got to have legislation to deal with power. You know, these things suck up the power like nobody's business. In doing some of the research, I looked at some of this stuff. Almost every place in the country where they have brought in data centers, residential electric rates have spiked dramatically. Now, if the county decided to give them abatement, you know, I interviewed some county officials in different counties that are dealing with this stuff, and they told me some of the nice assurances that they were given. Okay, they told me some of the assurances that they were given, and I asked. In fact, I asked one judge who was pro-data center, not this judge. Let me be clear about that. I said, have you got any enforcement mechanism to make them keep that? He said, well, no. So this wasn't a covenant the data center was trying to enter into. It was a sales pitch to get the abatement. You got to stop that, and you got to have real legislative answers. Y'all are in Texas. All of it. So you know the best way to keep clean energy is energy density. What has energy density? Oil, gas, nuclear power. I've been here 4 times since May. I've been here a lot before, but 4 times since May I've been watching windmills. You know how many windmills I've seen that actually have a blade rotating? 0. Not a one. What kind of brain dead deal was it to decide that, let's take a technology that has a 20 to 30 year usable life, takes 50 years to pay for itself, and let's put them all over. What a bunch of stupidity. And the solar farms, I know a lot of the farmers here are getting some subsidies for it. We just have to find a different way to do that. The solar farms are like the ancient Roman practice of salting the ground and making it unusable. They just do it in slow motion. And they don't provide energy that'll last. You've got to have answers for that. Cat Water is determined to partner with local officials and with local people to develop those specific answers, not just to gripe and moan on some things. Give your local officials the power they need, and she is determined, unlike many legislators, not to be Austin's voice to you, imposing its will on you, but to be your voice to Austin and to hold everybody's feet to the fire. Why are you not coming up with serious answers? That's what I'd like to say.
Mr. Rob Altman.
Thank you, Dan. I was actually very surprised that Dan said that I could come talk to you because I'm an Army guy and he's a Marine. Now, if you haven't ever heard, the acronym for Army is aren't ready to be a Marine yet, but that and I'm an Aggie, so we'll have fun with this. All right. Yeah, howdy. I'm Rob Altman, Major Rob Altman, U.S. Army retired. I'm a 100% disabled veteran, and I'm a combat veteran with multiple tours. The reason I'm here tonight is somewhat of what you've heard. I am in the Congressional District Race 10 race. There are 9 people. Of those 9 people that are running for Congress, there are only 3 of us that are not from Austin. We have a problem in our country right now with folks voting for somebody that they think will go and represent them, and yet they become disappointed when they find out they've become just like everybody else. And I know it's hard because we love Texas, but y'all, Austin and DC sometimes think they know better than us. What's right for you. So I'm not here to give you a campaign pitch. This is a town hall about the Marquez data center. What I do as a veteran, as a combat veteran, as a means of serving you, and that is my plan should you elect me to go to DC, I will be in this district meeting with you, looking to help the judge, the commissioners, you the people, on how you can get your needs taken care of. Now, because I am pretty comfortable with national security, on my team I have 4 outstanding students who have ag backgrounds. And I have another lady who has a PhD in geology, and she knows what she's talking about when it comes to data centers. So what I'm going to give Dan, and I'll make sure that you have access to it, are the questions that if, God forbid, the 391 committee isn't able to get those stipulations in, if for some reason Belltown still comes. And by the way, I'm really surprised, y'all, that they're not here. And I asked Dan, I said, why are they not here? And he said, well, they don't have enough information. How can you say you're going to build a data center and not have information? This gentleman, ladies and gentlemen, was absolutely right. It's a risk transfer. They think you're not smart enough because you're in a rural community. Friends, Thomas Jefferson said to James Madison, the people are the surest reliance for the preservation of our liberty. Ladies and gentlemen, you have the ability to speak your voice, to say what is on your heart, what is on your mind, to protect your way of life. Now, there are several things that my PhD friend told me. You need to ask questions like, what's the expected annual and peak daily water use for Kala under realistic operating scenarios? What is the timeline and plan for interconnection for the grid, and who pays for new transmission and subsidies? How many diesel or gas-backed generators are planned, and what is the air quality impact during their testing and outages? How many permanent jobs, not the 1,000 at the beginning when they're constructing the thing, and then afterwards it goes down to 40. What pay ranges and what local training will be created? Well, you've heard a lot about tax abatements. What incentives are being requested? How will Belltown keep the community in the loop? Y'all, that is what is exactly. They're not doing it right now. And that's not us poking a bear. That's saying, ladies and gentlemen, they're not here to tell you what information they have. And that's important. You deserve that. Transparency is a right. It is your right as an American, as a citizen of this great county. And the last thing I'll tell you about, there are case studies. College Station, transparency for them was non-negotiable. Granbury is suffering right now. There are young people who are having hearing issues because of the noise. There are recommendations of not going above 40 decibels. I can tell you as somebody who has fired a lot of weapons in my lifetime that I have hearing issues. And if these data centers are operating at higher level of decibels, 80 to 120 or whatever it is, there's going to be some folks nearby with some hearing issues. Medina County, they said water security is a shared responsibility. And then there is the other case of Temple, where they were able to put in guardrails. The Thomas Jefferson quote, ladies and gentlemen, yeah, it's a couple hundred years old. But our government was formed to protect you. Not to give you, but to protect you. And in order to protect this community, the government must say, one, you can't come, and if you do come, like the lawyer suggested, and I know you're not happy with it, make sure your voice is heard at the Commissioner's Court every week, that you will not stand by and allow your community to be overrun by somebody who is just looking to make a buck. My website, if you want to check it out, is Altman for Texas. You can always count on me. I'm happy to give out my personal number at the whatever. My wife doesn't like it. But in any event, I'm looking forward to serving you in Congress, and I'll be here with that expert. I'll bring her to help you, Dan, because I want to help the folks here in Leon County. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm not a...
I know. Keep it about 3 if you can come.
3? Oh, yeah, I won't be long.
Yeah, turn it on. There you go.
There we go.
Good evening. As most of y'all probably know, I am Kyle Workman. I'm the Precinct 3 Commissioner. I am not running this time, but that doesn't change my concern about this project or any other project for that matter. Most of y'all know I'm not from here. I moved here. I've committed my life here. I've raised my kids here just like everyone else. I don't want to see our community change either. But that being said, I want to make sure that we have adequate information. I think it's important for us to not make rash decisions. We are elected to not make rash decisions. As soon as we found out about this, we added it to the Commissioner's Court. We've been talking about it every single week. This is not something that is being hidden from anyone. We're happy to have you come. In fact, we moved our Commissioner's Court to the large room on the 3rd floor of Annex 2, downtown Centerville. Please feel free to come and hear what all your county commissioners do for you. Manage our budgets, support our sheriff, make sure that we can actually operate a county. And that does take some effort. And we are here. We are listening. There was some talk about a 391 commission. I personally set that up originally for the high-speed rail in conjunction with the Commissioner's Court at that time. And I'm very grateful for that opportunity. I led the charge yesterday to make sure that that 391 commission can get started, communicating with our county attorney to get that memorandum of understanding or MOU established for getting that going with, hopefully with Madison County. We will take a look at these projects as a group. We'll make sure we keep everyone informed. You're more than welcome to come to our Commissioner Court meeting. Again, I have serious concerns. I'm not standing here in support of this at all. But I'm a limited government guy. I'm a private property rights guy. I don't want people telling me what I can do on my property. That's a problem. That's what's intersecting right here. Private property rights versus the impact to your neighbors. And I'm saying to you now, we're listening. We're paying attention. We're not asleep at the switch. But we have a burden and a duty to protect your rights also for your private property. So with that, I want to thank you all for coming and listening to me for my 3 minutes.
3 minutes.
My number's on the website as well. Feel free to call me. I am honored to serve as your Precinct 3 Commissioner.
Right. Thank you, Kyle.
Mike Greer. Next person I'm calling up. Mike Greer. Oh, there he is. He was hiding in the back. You want me to come to you? No. You wish you would wear your suit, don't you? Wear a suit. I told him not to.
Originally, I'd planned on, having a speech, but a lot of the talking points that I was going to discuss, you kind of, originally I was going to have a speech prepared for everybody. A lot of the talking points have already been discussed. This is what I do. I build data centers. I migrate, most of them globally, where the infrastructure is currently in place. Moved out here, been coming out here for 30 years, actually bought 100 acres out here and everything. And the plan was that for pretty much a retirement and the way of life, the culture. I love it here. I've always loved it here. So I thought they were kidding when they told me that there was going to be a data center built here. There's certain things that data centers require. The power requirements. You got to have your network infrastructure. You have to have the cooling, footprints. There's a lot of stuff that goes into it. A lot of the planning had to have taken place. There's no way that you would buy the land without knowing where you're going to source the propane to feed your generators, the infrastructure for the circuits. What's the path that it has to take to get there? Many of these paths will cross, it could cross right through the city of Marquez, right through the feed store there. If you look at the planning that's taken place to the point where they bought made agreements for the land, there has to be a little bit of investigative stuff going on there to feed that infrastructure. Our policy when we do it is probably a 3-year planning. You go in, you secure rights, you put people under contract. Most of the cities, if you're trying to do that in a small city that can't support their infrastructure, the city itself handles that burden. You could, on average, over the last 2 weeks, I've looked at other examples of where they've tried to do this in small towns. In Georgia, their aqueducts got destroyed. That's the water that feeds the chicken houses, that feeds their ponds. Their well water was destroyed there. Within 50 miles of it, since it ties into the grid to feed back your electrical appliances, all of it has spikes. Out of probably 30 near misses for blackouts, 75% of them was caused by these AI data centers. So, a lot of it was hinted at before, but then power spikes, and that's your wells, that's your common electronics, your refrigerators in your houses. Within 50 miles, you will get spikes there. It's not going to be clean power anymore because of that draw. They hinted at it earlier, our electrical prices. What was it, 4 or 5 years ago? It was 13 cents a kilowatt hour. I'm paying over 18 and 19 now. My electric bill at my house, my other house, is $2,000 a month now. I mean, that's ridiculous, right? And if they're talking about doubling that, I mean, they're just pricing me out of my own house in many instances. So we take a look at the consequences, the noise levels. This data center that's going to be talked about being built is literally walking distance from my house. So, sometimes we talk about the school lights. You can still see them over when it used to be really dark and everything else. This is going to be constant noise. When you talk about 50 to 85 decibels and the way sound carries here over the hills, you will hear it. You will constantly hear it. And then lower frequencies goes much further than their fence line. So there's a lot of talking points on why it shouldn't be here and stuff. But whenever we do data centers, what we start off with is 30% of what the base is. So there's always expansion. We look at how technology doubles. It used to double at a rate of, once every 20 years. Now with AI, it doubles every 3 years. Every business is using it. I'm using it in many instances for a lot of my job duties. It's taken away a lot of our jobs. I mean, given many of the jobs they consider entry-level jobs, but that's how you become more experienced. You start off entry-level, you build your way up, and AI replaces that in many instances. It's going to be a new way of life. So with it doubling every 3 years, you're looking at the footprint has to double in many instances. A lot of times you could speed up RAM, so forth, make a smaller footprint, but that footprint's going to double. What you see is the initial, what you see planned. Then next thing you know, they're going to buy the rest of the land. Your property values, the reason why your property values are anywhere from $4,000 to $12,000 an acre is because of the culture, way of life, the country lifestyle. Well, that goes away. If you got a constant noise there, who's going to buy your farm or your house? If you got constant traffic going down your street, become a lot more industrialized, your property values will drop tremendously off of this. I've already seen going down 1469, 4 more houses up for sale, 4 more farms. Where, before it was the light rail. They've been talking about that for 25 years. This one, when you look at it, they're looking at putting it in place within the next year. They're trying to rush them in. The planning's already taken place. I can guarantee you that. They know, they have a good idea of how it's going to go, the paths that they're going to take, who they got to get easements from. A lot of that's already taken place. I promise you that. If they're looking at implementation of next year. So with that being said, a lot of it is take a deeper dive and take a deeper look into it. I mean, within a city that could support it, you're there. But, you have electrical battery fires, stuff like that. The city has to eat that cost. They have to be able to support the fire requirements and the SOX certifications and everything else requires that infrastructure to be in place. That will be the city's responsibility. And in result, that's each of your responsibilities. You're going to be funding this from top to bottom. I can guarantee it. That's the scary part of this is I enjoy my taxes here. In Houston, I had my house, everything else. There's no way to retire. My escrow is outrageous. Here, I'm ready for a more simpler lifestyle. And that's what I've chosen. I mean, I know many of you out here. I like the closeness. I like the camaraderie. I like the culture. But this is like one step of many. There's stuff that follows this that will change that culture. And I think it will change it for a lot worse. There's stuff you will get the jobs, but there's no benefit to the people locally. Many of the jobs, many of the resources, many of the costs are outsourced. They're outsourced. The people that they will send in, they'll be staying within our communities and everything else. We as a town don't have the infrastructure to build this out for them. So all these people will be coming in. They'll be looking for places to stay. They'll be, there's a lot of stuff that comes with that. So, yeah, I say take a closer look, find out, who's kind of signed off on this, who's kind of in agreement with it, and then cast your votes accordingly. It's, that's the democratic way. All right, guys.
Hello.
Mr. Dixon, I have a question for county judge and our commissioners that are here. I need to know why we had to find out accidentally about this thing. Y'all keep saying that you knew about it, and that's great, but you told not a soul. We had to find out accidentally what y'all were doing, and that's not good. Thank you.
Well, it's a good question. What I would say is that there's 16,000 people in this county. I don't know what the expectation is to put her on the agenda when there's an action item. Is the expectation that we're to call everybody if somebody asks for something? That's what I don't know. No, we were not asked for anything. I was not. I have not met with any one of them. They met with the judge. He just told you that. I know you're saying that, sir, and what do you mean? I guess what I'm trying to understand, what was accidental? We brought it, we put it on Commissioner's Court. We have a meeting every 2 weeks. Should we put an ad in the paper? Okay.
Hey, Kyle, I think that what he means by accidentally is that document basically leaked, right? The project plan leaked.
Oh, yeah.
That project.
It did.
Hang on.
I had it, and I called you about it. You said, "Oh, it's just a rumor. We don't know anything about it."
Right.
I've got a copy of the document.
So that document leaked, and it came to this group right here, and we went to Facebook and started screaming. And I think that's what they mean by accidentally found out. Oh, I'm sorry. Who is it?
What document is you referring to?
The project plan, the Kayla project plan, that PowerPoint.
Oh, that's
I gave it to her. I gave it to her. I gave her a color picture. I gave her.
When did you give her that?
And she actually looked at it. She said, "This thing goes."
Here.
It was like that.
Watch out. Judge Ryder, you gave me and Ann both a copy. At the third Commissioners Court meeting we were at, we had the copy November the 9th, I believe. We already had a copy of it. So don't say middle December you gave it to us. That was whenever Kyle Workman had told me it was just a rumor and I had a copy of it already. So please don't say that.
I didn't say that. I said I gave it to her, and she said,
Go ahead.
and she said that it was old. It was like 6 months old.
I didn't sign up to speak here. Most of you know I'm Sheriff Kevin Ellis. And come up here right now to say what's happened. Whatever opinion we have of what's happened is already done. It's not doing us any good here not to work and move forward with this court that's here to support y'all. And we all have to get along. We're not against we shouldn't be against one another. We should be moving forward together and going forward from right here and now, moving. So I just want to say that. This conversation we're having right now is not moving anybody forward. Thank you.
Okay. So, and also in that, they had reached out about how can they be more transparent, because these days, we don't have newspapers anymore. You don't have a newspaper that you can go and pick up, or you get in the mail on a Tuesday and you see what's going on. So they have reached out to us in how can we get the message out to the community so that it doesn't look like there's these, closed door deals going on and things like that. So Michael has created a website, noleoncounty.org. And then we have Judge Ryder, who is giving us the information as he gets it. And as soon as he gets it, we are able to put it onto the website. So I know that up front, that transparency, I feel it too. I'm also on the hurt end of that. And so I know we feel very, very hurt that we weren't informed. But again, like the sheriff said, that's in the past. We can't fix that, but as a community, we do need to move forward. And so using that website, and then after we get the information from the judge, we take that website information and we share it on our Facebook page, the Citizens Against the Data Center. NoLeonCounty.org. K-N-O-W. Yeah. As in, like I want to know Leon County. And so moving forward, that's where that information will be. So even if you don't have Facebook, you can still access the website and get the same information that we are putting out there on Facebook. So we just know that we need these guys just as much as we need each other. And so they do have a lot of power. We know our local governments have that. I didn't realize how much, but they do. And so if we work together with them, we're going to come out so far ahead of this thing. And, if this was such a great deal for our community, Belltown should have been the first group here tonight telling us how wonderful this thing is. They should have been the first people here in those doors saying, this is going to be jobs for your community. This is going to be amazing for your school. Your kids are going to reap the benefits of this for decades to come. And they're not here doing that because it's not a good deal. So let's all just work together from this point on to make sure that, that those things are in place and that communication will be open from now on. Thank you.
We've still got public comments. Mike? Okay, go ahead.
One other thing. I want to defend these guys over here because as soon as I posted on Facebook about the lack of what we felt was transparency, the judge immediately reached out to me within a couple of hours of that post and said, what can I do? Can I send you these documents and you put them online? And so that goes a long ways because they're not breaking any laws. First and foremost, they're following doing this, we're doing that. It's all there. It's on the agenda. Every single time for every one of the abatements I talked about they granted, there was a 30-day notice. We all ignored it. Every one of us. And so it's hard to find. It's hard to know what to look for. And so, but they are working with us, trying to figure out a way to keep everybody in the loop. So try not to be too mad at them. So, thank you.
I've got more public comments. Rachel Streeter.
Hey, Rachel Streeter here. I am a 5th generation on family land out in Benicia. So I just wanted to speak with you. I have a social media platform and I've been following this group, and I'll either share some of the posts or write some of my own thoughts. And I've had a couple of engineers who've reached out to me directly and had conversations with me. And a lot of what you're saying tonight is exactly what they said, but two main things, and one that really wasn't mentioned in detail tonight that I just wanted to share. So I love the idea of transparency, as you say. They go for water. These AI data centers really like the water, especially the rivers near us. So obviously the Trinity, the Navasota Valley, or the river there. And then the big thing that both engineers said was that they avoid transmission power stops. So when we have power that's transferred easily from one place to another, that's exactly what they're drawn to. And they told me even more so than a tax abatement. So I just wanted to share that information. I don't know what we can do with it, But there you go. Thanks for your time. And I appreciate you guys gathering together tonight. It's good to see everyone out supporting one another.
Thank you.
I wasn't planning to say anything tonight, and as I sat here, I just felt the Lord putting it on my heart. My husband Ryan and I live adjacent to the petty place that is part of this deal. This is literally going to be in our backyards. We're neighbors with Ann. And my husband came home about a month ago, and he said, he was just very upset about what he had heard about this. And I said, look, we're gonna stop right now, and we are gonna pray. And so the next day I sat down and I prayed, and I poured my heart out to the Lord, and I said, this is our heritage, this is our family land. And after I was done, I opened my Bible, and the scripture that came up was Proverbs 16:9. And it says, mortals make elaborate plans, but God has the last word. And so I just wanted to encourage y'all tonight that we are here for a purpose. Our voices are being heard. I encourage you to pray, but just remember that God has the last word. So I just want to share that.
Thank you, Jack. Ms. Carol Milder.
Hi, I'm Carol Milder. I'm the county chair for the Republican Party of Leon County. And I really am so excited by this attendance. So I asked Sheriff Ellis if he would give us a head count so we would know. And he came up with 185 people in attendance tonight. That is an amazing number in a county that has 17,000 people, and that's including kids. So I applaud us. We are going to do something, and I thank you for the leadership that's already here working hard. Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you, Ms. Milder. Did I miss anybody else who had a question or wanted to make a public comment? Nope. I'm making my way back up towards the front.
My name's Kent Walker, and I've been in Leon County since 1990. And I've had poultry houses. I'm a retired poultry farmer. And I know when I built my houses, TCEQ, EPA, they all came in. We had to have a 503 plan. And it was a big deal. And this should be a big deal too to them. And I think the water is our biggest issue. And because we can't have poultry houses, we can't have cattle without water. And that's what we need to fight about. TCEQ is a good place to start. So that's all I want to say.
I'll be brief. I know everybody probably wants to get home. My name's Ed Barnes, and I wasn't raised here. But my wife and I chose this area of Lake Limestone for our retirement home. And but we weren't chased out of our hometowns by all of the development and progress that the politicians and the smooth talkers brought and told us what they were going to do, the wonderful things they were going to do. And the point I want to drive home is that without a tax abatement from your commissioner's court, this is likely to not happen. And I know a lot of people have said it, but I spent 12 years of my career administering and monitoring compliance with tax abatements. And I'm adamantly against them. I think it's wrong to ask you to pay for the services that this development will require for 10 years. And, you know, what's your tangible benefit that you're getting out of it? I saw instances, I was doing this for the Guadalupe County and Seguin, City of Schertz. I saw instances where I would go to Commissioner's Court and say, this development is not in compliance with the agreement. And they'd say, well, we really don't want to hear that. Or I'd go to the City of Schertz and tell the city manager, they're clearly not in compliance. You know, we need not continue with terms of the abatement. And the city manager said, I'm the guy that brought that here. I'm not going to say this thing's a failure. I had actually developments leave the county, and there's a recapture clause in these agreements where the taxpayers get their money back. They didn't want to pursue that because, it made them look bad for granting it in the first place. So property rights is a wonderful thing, but I think first and foremost, property rights of the existing residents and property owners should always come first. And it shouldn't be used as something in an unregulated state, as we have mentioned, to bring something like this to the community when generally it's not wanted. It doesn't provide a benefit to most of the taxpayers.
Thank you. I got one right over here, Daniel.
Okay.
Hi, this is just a quick question. I don't have anything else to say about, everybody's already said everything that's to be said. And I think we all agree. What I ask now is, here we all are, what can we do? What can we literally do? I mean, I see you formed the committee, you're starting to get the information out. What can we do? And if you don't have an answer for that, can we get a promise that you will put it on the website? What can we do? Can we do like high-speed rail? It's my second rodeo now. Do we need to go to Austin? Do we need to go talk to people there? What can we say? How can we do this? For those of you who don't know, I was part of the high-speed rail thing too, and we went to Austin, and we talked to people there, and we supported bills and things like that to get things stopped in that way. And I know that one of the things that we did do was to sort of regulate them to where they couldn't get a permit for this or they couldn't get a permit for that unless they were this or that. And I'm wondering if we can take that technology. But anyway, my big question is, what can we do? And if you don't have an answer to that, at least give us a promise that on these websites you will let us know so that we can again come out, enforce, and do what needs to be done.
So one of the things that came up in Commissioner's Court that Commissioner Workman said was, we're going to need some money. There's money that's going to be needed to form the 391. We're going to have to hire an attorney, I believe he said. We're going to need to, any studies that we want done, we're going to have to pay for it. So one of the things that the three of us have been discussing is forming a nonprofit that we can use to collect money and start paying for those things. So we're going to try and get the ball rolling on that this week. It does take a little bit of time to get it done, but I think Daniel is going to be taking care of that. Some of the other things you can do, I guess everybody, they already know that how we feel, but it doesn't hurt to remind them. It doesn't hurt to show up to the Commissioner's Court and speak your mind there as well. Y'all want to add anything to that? No? Okay.
No. Hang on. We're adding.
Hang on, it's my wonderful moment over here.
Hey, hang on 1 second. Mr. Allen wants to add to it.
Just directly to that, state and federal. Your local people are here, they're hearing you. The state and federal have not. The governor, the lieutenant governor, they're all up for election next year, this year. This is the time to be talking to them. Ask them, are you providing incentives to these? Are you imposing any restrictions on their location? Are you giving the local people any ability to have a say in their location? If not, why not? Don't stop here locally. This is a fight just like high-speed rail that you've got to carry to the decision makers, and that's where they are.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to just talk briefly on school finance because it was mentioned. Leon ISD is a Chapter 41 school. If you don't know that, that means we're considered a rich school. It's based upon the property value per student. Right now, this will not help us. The money that's collected above that amount will go directly back to Austin. It does not go to Memphis School at all. I just wanted y'all to be aware of that because the money will go back to Austin.
So, I got involved with this data center question, and my concern was the aquifers. I live in Hilltop Lakes area, which, as we know, there's a difference between which aquifers are drawing water from. And in the Hilltop Lakes area, there's the Queen City Sparta, which sits higher than the Wilcox Carrazzo. Wilcox Carrazzo runs from Arkansas to Mexico. Queen City Sparta, it's a total of 4 aquifers we're talking about. Queen City Sparta is much more shallow, but it's higher, it's above. It runs from Texarkana to about San Marcos. It's much more fragile, much more pristine water because it's much more sandy soil. So, as we all know, there's been a lot more drilling going on and seismic studies in the area, which makes the ground more vulnerable as well. So I was told, well, it's not going to affect you because as soon as they start drilling in there, they're going to pull up once they pull up, it'll cause concentric circles and then the sand will automatically close the hole anyway. Well, that's baloney. We don't know what's going to happen because our lands are being shifted right now anyway because of the seismic studies going on all throughout here. Because we're ramping up fracking as well. So another thing, that's one component. The other thing that hasn't been mentioned as much is the radio wave frequencies. And I used to work in the medical field over 30 years. Radio wave frequencies can be used for healing and they can be used for harm. This particular, and I'll tell you how predominant it's become. This particular hat that I'm wearing is a protective hat for electromagnetic pulse. I'm sure all of you have something to protect your credit card, where your credit card is wrapped. I've got something on my cell phone so that these pulses can't protect me at night. So these are the kind of things, frequencies that are going to be fluctuating for hundreds, and because we're, like they said, because our terrain is such that these radio wave frequencies telegraph for miles, and they're not audible. Many of them are not audible. Many of them are audible. So this will affect many things that we really don't know. It'll affect the migratory patterns of birds, for one thing. It'll also affect the bees. Bees have the capability of memorizing 15 different maps so that they can find their pollen. What happens with radio wave frequencies, it confuses their brain. It confuses their mind. They actually end up dying. So you'll have millions of bees, hundreds of thousands of bees just die. And they'll blame it on something else, but these radio wave frequencies that are not visible to the human eye, they will affect us in ways that we cannot see. And like I said, I worked in the medical field for over 30 years. We use radio wave frequencies for lithotripsy and other kinds of things that we know they're healing waves. But there are dangerous ones too that will affect our natural resources, our plants, our animals, and everything. So keep that in mind. You need to let your neighbors know this is the real thing, because I've had people tell me, is that really real? Is that really going to be as big a deal? This is it. This is a fight of our lives, and it ain't going away in our lifetime either. So educate your children. Thank you.
One more question right here. So my question kind of ties into the last two folks. Number one, how far would we say, as the crow flies, this data center will be from Leon ISD? Mile? 2 miles?
A mile.
A mile?
Mile and a half. It's not
Yeah, a mile and a half.
Mile and a half.
Okay, so between a mile and 3 miles, all of our kids are going to be subjected to whatever health concerns that this center is going to be bringing into our area 8 hours a day, every day. So not just our property rights, but all of our children are going to be greatly affected by anything that goes in here. So I just Are we reaching out to the school to find out what things they're going to be doing there? What studies have been done on the impacts of this to children, to their growth, to their development? So I'm interested in getting additional information on that as we pursue this further.
That BES. Okay. Mention how far people have to
Anybody else?
evacuate.
Comments, questions, concerns?
I'm on the board of an HOA on the lake, and I want to know if this is being recorded so I can pass it on through my website.
What?
KBTX, KXXV, Centerville News.
Okay. Also, if I have a question about this, who do I contact?
Website, or Facebook page, or the website.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else?
It's important that you let your voice be heard. That's why we're here today.
Is this one on?
Everybody that showed up today, it truly shows how much we, Leon County, care about what's going on. So before we leave tonight, we would like to thank everyone for coming. I want us to all walk out with clarity, purpose, and fire in our hearts, because what we're doing matters. What we're building together is bigger than any corporation, any outside interest, and any obstacle placed in our way. Before all this came about, I didn't know Mike. We just met 3 months ago, and now we're best friends. People always ask, what can I do to help? Anyone in this room can be a part of this movement. You don't need a title. You don't need experience. All you need is a willingness to speak up. Share information on social media. Talk to your neighbors. Start conversations that matter. One of my favorite Bible verses ever is Isaiah 6:8, where God says to Isaiah, "Whom shall I send?" And Isaiah says, "Here I am. Send me." That should be all of our response. Here I am, send me. Sometimes stepping out of our comfort zone is all it takes. And look at what we've done. Our petition has passed 1,700 signatures in a county of 16,000 people. That speaks volumes. That is the sound of a community waking up. And people come to us and they say, how do I keep up? How do I know what's going on? We post daily updates on Facebook and at noleoncounty.org for those that don't have Facebook, so everyone can stay engaged. As these projects try to move into Leon County, we will stay vigilant. We slept for a long time and this crept up on us. It won't happen again. We will protect our land, our heritage, and our future. We will not allow corporate interests to sell our home to the highest international bidder. Not now, not ever. We've been told over and over again there's nothing we can do, but we found a way. We've been told you can't fight $1 billion corporation, but we're fighting. And let me ask you this. What would our history look like if every time somebody said you can't win, Americans just simply gave up? What if George Washington had said, you're right, the British outnumber us 50-1, we can't win? What if Sam Houston at San Jacinto had said, you're right, we're outnumbered 2-1, we can't win? If strong people had listened to defeat, we wouldn't be Americans today, and we certainly wouldn't be Texans. We come from people who refused to bow, people who stood their ground, people who fought for the land beneath their feet because they knew it was worth fighting for. And now it's our turn. So tonight, as we leave this town hall, I want every one of us to carry this truth. We stand together, we fight together, and together we overcome the odds. Leon County is worth defending. Our land is worth defending. Our future is worth defending. And any corporation